All right, so here is the subwoofer box. This came out of my Civic, so I'm doing this video because I wanted to show you guys what what you get with the Civic or the Honda OEM systems. This is the ported box. It's a plastic ported box, and as you can see, it's nothing really much to it. The port is on the bottom right here, and the way it works is that there's a tube, sort of like a horn, that goes all the way up into the opening down inside, right? So it's a ported box. Hopefully you guys can see that inside. I have some sound deadening material on here, so just ignore it. I tried to increase the sound quality of this box before I replaced it, but long story short is that it didn't work. So this is what I have now. I have it removed because I have a Rockford Fosgate system, sub and amp instead of this one, and it outperforms it like, I mean, it's just it's like night and day. This system is an 8-inch woofer. So here's the woofer, is an 8-inch driver. I'll show you this a little bit more in a sec. But this box, it's relatively small. As you can see, this is 8 inches, right? So that means, you know, this thing is probably 16 inches long, sort of idea. Not very deep. Approximately 8 inches deep then, right? And it's enclosed with this ported box that is like a type of plastic. It's not very thick, although it's designed with a bunch of ribs, so meaning reinforcement ribs, right? And anything that is curved will have a very strong structure to it. So yes, it's relatively strong, but when it comes to these straight surfaces, you can tell basically right away that it's just, I mean, it's just thin plastic, right? You can't really get around that. That's why if you take a look at the back of it, there's a bunch of ribs too as well. Let me just turn it around. You can see the ribs here to sort of help reinforce it. And then all these little shapes and nooks and crannies, these reinforcement ribs, I would call it too as well. They sort of help reinforce it, and all these curves and shapes actually do increase the rigidity of the box. But needless to say, this is not wood, and the only reason why manufacturers go with this is because it's lightweight. It's lightweight relatively to manage and relatively easy to manufacture. There's really not much to it, right? There's the connectors here, and there's not much to it inside, right? There's the port right here. Design-wise is designed well, no doubt about that. But does it sound better than a MDF wood box? No, it's just not big enough. If you guys are aware of, you know, like the sound quality type of arena, sound quality, SPL, and sensitivity, and speakers and whatnot, ported boxes need to be very big. It needs a very big volume, right? And there's just not much volume in here. Look at that. There's not enough volume. And then this port is sort of like a horn. There's a bit of a taper to it. It's bigger out here. There's a bit of a taper inside into this part, and it just sounds really boomy. Boomy, like it's just sort of like a sloppy type of bass. It doesn't go very low, unfortunately. Okay. I mean, in the other earlier video, I mentioned that, you know, it rolls off really quick right after about 80 hertz. And if you guys know anything about the frequency of sound, 80 hertz is like mid bass. You know, it's punchy, but it rolls off way down really fast when it gets to 60 and then goes to 50, and you can't even hear a 40 and 30. Not that, you know, you don't expect it much from a 8-inch sub woofer, but I mean, if you guys are actually wondering why the system sounds sort of boomy and the bass, you know, it doesn't, for most people it's fine, right? Most people, you listen to the Civics, you know, higher, you know, the upgraded, I'm not going to say the word, the that brand upgraded system, most are relatively happy with the sound setup and the way it sounds, right? But if you guys even at least a little bit of a bass head or appreciate the lower extensions of going down to, you know, at least 50 hertz, right? Like, that's not too much to ask for, by the way. You know, 50 hertz is not very low, right? But at least you can hear it, right? The problem with this system is actually it's in the trunk, way back, tucked into the corner too. And because it's a small box and because it's light, and I know why they obviously want it light, because it's a car, right? You don't, every pound saved is, you know, whatever fuel economy, regulations, and they get tax credits for having a more efficient car, right? So needless to say, this is a light box with a very light weight subwoofer as well. I should have weighed this, but this is, I'm gonna say a 2 pounds, 3 pounds maybe 2-3 pounds. I'm holding it with one hand and it's spinning it, so it's not heavy at all. I have a kicker subwoofer that is like 3 times this weight, and is only it's a 10-inch compared to this 8-inch, sure. So this BOSE woofer is shoot, I said the word, but anyways, it's made in China. That is where that's the looks like some sort of QR code, and the part number, I guess. This magnet most likely is a neodymium magnet. That's why it's so small, right? Which is fine. And you can see the spider in there, stamped metal basket. There's a bit of a foam gasket here, and then there is the signature design paper cone, paper dust cap. Surprisingly, it does have a rubber surround. Surprisingly, very surprising. Definitely this is a type of rubber, and it seems to be relatively well built. Okay, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. However, this is a type of treated paper, and what I feel about paper is that you're in a car, right? Cars get weathered. You know, sometimes you even have water leak into the trunk and the doors and whatnot, right? So papers, it's just not the optimal type of material to use for a car. Why? Because paper gets weathered. When it gets wet, it starts to break down and warp, right? So, you know, that's just my thought into it. What is better? I think even a good polymer is better. What is the best? I think it's going to be like resin type of carbon fiber or fiberglass type of woofer. It's going to be the best bet. Metal, obviously, is going to be another good one. Like you know, the let's say aluminum woofers will be a good option as well. But this is definitely a paper woofer, very lightweight. That goes in there, and this thing can't be more than, man. Even though I have sound deadening material in here, this thing is, I'm gonna say like 6 pounds, right? If you guys are really interested, I can make a video on weighing it, but I don't have my scale handy right now. So, yeah, so that's just the overall package. What else can I say about this system? Mainly, I wanted to get some more of a musical bass. Musical, like, sounds good with lower bass notes, like bass guitar, and some of the songs out there that have a little bit more lower into the 40 hertz, like, rumbling bass, right? And then also it has this punchy bass too, in the same song, right? And this system, it just muddies up everything. I just can't explain it, but it's just so muddy when you're listening a little bit more critically. Yes, you're in the car. Yes, the cabin of a car is not a perfect listening room, right? Compared to let's say a actual entertainment room. But for the ones who spend a lot of time in their cars and appreciate good music, it's always good to have good music. Okay, so that's my thought in that. And yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't perform as expected. And yes, I do understand that this is a quote unquote economy car, right? This is the same system that I believe the Mazdas have, and who else? Mazda. A few OEMs use this system. I think Infiniti and Nissan does too, as well, right? So I'm just gonna start putting this back together as I talk. Right now, I'm using this as a subwoofer for my garage. So I have just basically a 2.0 system in the garage for just listening once in a while to just as I work on things in the garage, or for if I decide to do some workouts in the garage. This is the system I use. I have some Klipsch satellite speakers powered by a really inexpensive amp, and that amp can power this thing as well. And I actually bought it off of Alibaba for like $20, right? And it's powerful enough to power this 8-inch sub. Which yeah, I don't know how many watts this thing is, but I can only imagine it being around the RMS wise, I'm gonna guess at 50 watts. RMS 50 watts. So with 50 watts RMS to a subwoofer, it's not bad. I mean, that could sound really good and relatively loud, but because it's situated in the the passenger side of the trunk, tucked in the corner in the back, right? And for the ones who I have a hatchback, so it's I don't have the trunk to sort of block all the sound, right? Trunk and the seats and stuff, right? Because it's open, right? But for the ones who have a sedan, it just covers up all the sounds, right? Even though bass is non-directional, it just, when you cover it that much, it's just not very loud with 50 watts, right? RMS. And that sort of sucks because you guys opt in for that higher touring model, and you get the system, which is only mediocre, right? And it'll be nice if they put in some good quality, higher end things rather than just marketing, right? You know what I mean? Like, instead of spending it all in marketing and the name and stuff like that, maybe spend a little bit more on I don't know, the box, or putting a little bit more thought into making this enclosure just a tiny bit bigger, right? Tiny, even 1 more liter would make a big difference, because then it's going to be able to get down just that little bit lower. Because I think this woofer is probably sufficient, right? For the size of a, the Civic's cabin is not big, right? But I think with a bigger box, because it's ported, right, and is not sealed, right, it would sound way better if it was just a tiny bit bigger, right? So anyways, I'm using this as just a subwoofer for the garage, right? Just for listening once in a while, right? So it's become just a garage mule. Anyways, I'm gonna put it back together, put it back up in the shelf for the garage, and you guys comment, subscribe, like, let me know what you think, and yeah, let me know what you think of the Civic sound system. Throughout this video, I tried really hard not to say this brand, right? And just so you guys know why, it's because it hurts the visibility of the video if I say the brand and trash it, especially this brand. This brand does not like any bad publicity, right? They litigate, right? And I would admit that they got better through the years, right? But I mean, man, yeah, I'm just gonna say that the earlier days I've been very disappointed by this brand's equipment. I had an Infiniti G35, and it had sort of like the three-way system in the front, which got very loud, but it's such a fatiguing sound. After a little while, I'm like, man, this system is so fatiguing to listen to. It actually gives me a headache, and my ears are ringing after I listen to it, right? So I mean, just that's just disheartening that it, because they went cheap with the woofers, and the thing is with paper, I'm gonna say it again, with paper, there's a certain resonance to paper, right? Paper can sound very good, but the way they have implemented in these systems, it's just implemented for maximum profit. So they use the cheapest way of designing it, best bang for buck for getting the sound level for the amount of volume, right, that they can get away with. It's just the least for the most, right? And yes, I know the Civic is not a luxury car, but I mean, they can put at least a little bit more into it, right? I think. For you, the guys that, if you guys like the system, let me know. I know certain listeners are very happy with the system, and that's great. Enjoy, right? But just also know that there's a lot of better systems out there, way better for the same class of car, right? One of them is Alpine. Alpine actually makes some really good systems. I had a Dodge Ram rental with the Alpine. It was a Dodge Ram, one of the trucks, right? One of the full size trucks with the V8, and holy smokes, that's not even the highest model. There was a upper scale Harman Kardon one for the same truck, and that upgraded system made by tuned, and a lot of speakers are probably from that company, and man, it sounded so good, very, very balanced, smooth, good low bass with overall sound just is actually really nice. And that was I had some really good impressions of the sound on the system. It gets really loud too. So that is the Alpine system, upgraded system for that Ram truck. And yeah, so let me know. You guys comment and ask away if you have any questions. What else can I say? You guys have a great weekend, and I will speak with you soon. Take care.